the problem is they've done in the process of the superhero business, they've killed the movie star. We don't have movie stars anymore. You can't say, "Oh, I'm going to see the new so and so's movie," and it means anymore. You used to say, "I'm going to go see this new Stallone movie," and Gary would know exactly what I was talking about. But it didn't matter if it was an IP or Rambo 3 because we just went to see a Stallone movie, right, or a Schwarzenegger movie or whatever it was because we went for the movie star. Tom Cruise is probably the last true movie star, right? But even that is hit and miss with some of his stuff. Chris Pratt's the closest I could argue to somebody who's close to being a movie star, maybe Ryan Reynolds, but even they're not.
I don't
proven.
think so as well. Like Chris Pratt's he's not a draw necessarily.
That's what I'm saying. Like I can't even make that argument and not say, yeah, there's probably some caveats to it, right?
There used to be directors that were like Stanley Kubrick, James Cameron,
Scorsese. Not even Spielberg could pull people in anymore.
No. Nolan is
the closest. It pains me to say this, it really does, but the closest thing we have to a movie star in this generation now is The Rock.
And he's really not that big of a movie star.
Well, he's 50 now, so he's not exactly a spring chicken anymore.
Well, what I mean was he's more or less like a faux movie star. They tried to pretend he is, but look at it. Black Adam is pretty much his highest grossing movie, and that flopped.
I was going to say, that there was the assumption that The Rock's in it, so it's going to be this massive hit, and it flopped, and so it really put a dent in his box office aura, I suppose.
Well, have you guys heard about what's been said recently that he was going pretty bullheaded with that whole thing? Even he kept out Zachary Levi from having a cameo in Black Adam.
Oh, we should. I guess we could just move on to this.
Well, that was what I was trying to say. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, it was something I was going to bring up actually. The whole furor around Shazam 2 just basically bombing hard. There's all kinds of things that's emerged in the wake of this about what The Rock was mandating, what he would allow. Apparently he interfered quite heavily to make Black Adam more of a hero than a complete anti-hero or an antagonist like what he was meant to be. And he didn't want anything to do with Shazam. I assume his rationale there was Shazam is just this goofy comedy character, and he just didn't want to be associated with that because it's not cool enough.
He thought he knew better than everybody, and was just trust me, I got this. And then that happened. So
I can assume his mindset was right, I'm agreeing to come into this. I've stayed out of superhero movies all this time. I'm gonna come in, but if I'm doing it my way, and I'm gonna mold this into a new franchise, a new cinematic universe centered around me. And it turns out he couldn't make it work. He's not that big of a draw. He himself cannot save a franchise.
Makes you wonder though, had Black Adam made $1.5 billion, it was never going to. But let's say it did, we may have actually been able to keep Henry Cavill.
Oh yeah, this would not be we wouldn't be looking at the James Gunn version of DC if Black Adam had been this incredible Avengers level hit. They would have fully moved on with this slightly tweaked version of DC. We would have probably kept Henry Cavill, we would have kept Wonder Woman, we would have kept Aquaman, probably wouldn't have kept Ben Affleck, but we would have moved forward with that and a retooled version of the DCU. But as it stands, that movie flopped, and that was the final nail in the coffin. That was enough for them to say to James Gunn, right, okay, you've got carte blanche to reshape this because this isn't working.
It's still not working, and it won't work no matter what. Them releasing all of these lame duck films. Blue Beetle is still coming out.
Is that still happening?
And
holy shit, I've forgotten that was on.
Flash, and you and I both know how expensive that movie is, and Aquaman is ultimately damaging their brand. And if you're still releasing, it would be better not to release any of it and have nothing coming out, and you'd have a better chance of succeeding than rolling right from Aquaman into Superman. And then the Authority, the Authority is going to flop as hard as Shazam or Black Adam, or may do worse. And unless you have an awesome name attached to it, it's not going to do well.
I need the recognizable names.
Yeah. I assume that James Gunn and the guys at DC had, they had conferred, and they'd probably all recognized, okay, these holdover movies, Shazam 2, Aquaman 2, The Flash, we know they're probably going to flop, all of them. But, we've made them, we've invested the money, we have to release them one way or another. like I assume whether or not they do well is irrelevant to James Gunn's status. Like they're not going to blame that on him.
But it won't be irrelevant to the brand. And it
No,
won't be
you're right.
irrelevant to even Marvel's hurting them. Like Marvel's string of absolute failures that was the MCU hurts DC too. And just look at the announcement. Look at the energy on YouTube. You can judge if people are into something based on views of certain creators. There's no energy, there's no enthusiasm around DC right now.
No.
Like his announcement was pathetic. It was done in that
Well,
little room. You know, it's like, wow.
It was poorly timed, but I also wonder if there wasn't a reason for it. I wonder if they're not pulling a Mel Brooks producers here, because I was hearing that the only reason The Flash and any of these other movies that are big ones weren't getting canceled is because of back end deals mainly, and deals they had with like toys and McDonald's type deals or whatever, you know, like the fast food, you know, all that stuff, the tie-in stuff. So I don't know if that's part of the reason, but if the thing is if they release these movies and they don't make any money, they don't have to pay anybody anything. Because remember how much they had to pay out for Wonder Woman 84 because of that whole shenanigans? Like, I think that's why these movies are coming out, and I think that's why they announced it early. Because I'm sitting here scratching my head going, it doesn't matter. Why didn't they just wait until December to announce this? Because it doesn't make any sense. Because we're not going to see a movie until 2025. And all this stuff, other stuff is, just what they've already had in production.
Is it just a momentum thing as well? Like if they suddenly just stop making movies for like 2 years or 3 years potentially, while they get the new brand, the new
well, it's kind of what they're doing.
Film off the ground. Like, yeah, but like at least over the course of this year, they've got something coming out. And is their rationale like, well, even shit movies that are not going to do well is better than nothing at all because it just makes it like people forget about us.
I think that would still be better. I mean, that's a logical assumption. But like we are 2 years away, 2 solid years away from and some change of Superman coming out. It's June or July of 2020.
July 2025, yeah.
Yeah, that is a long freaking time. So much can change in the world. That'll be post another election. This will be a different world when that happens. And the superheroes might not be a thing. I mean, that's, you know, like how do we see anything promising? Like the most promising thing are digging up old stuff. Like Disney had to go to Fox X-Men to get any energy with Deadpool 3 and bringing back Wolverine. You're bringing back a 50-plus-year-old. Hey, hail to that. Hugh Jackman. To get any energy at all. And the minute they announced it, they delayed it. They delayed it within a week. They delayed that damn movie. They announced the release date and delayed it. So and all that article, aside from saying Kevin Feige didn't do anything to stop Victoria Alonso being fired, they made sure to point that out. They also said there were 5 Disney Plus projects supposed to come out this year. 5, and they haven't released one yet. They haven't released a series since She-Hulk, and I think at best we're going to get 2, which are Secret Invasion and Loki, if we get those. And those are supposed to be the good ones. That's not Echo and Agatha Harkness and Ironheart. So
I think the Ironheart
those shows have got to be dead in the fucking water. They must know that nobody wants to see them. Nobody gives a shit about Agatha Harkness. Nobody gives a shit about Ironheart.
Ant-Man is falling apart. Why do they this is a suicide mission at this point?
Well, yeah.
I was hearing the Ironheart show was like having trouble way before any of this stuff started coming down. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's the first one we hear is not happening. I think that's going to be happening. We're going to hear a lot of these shows are not going to happen.
X-Men 97 killed itself yesterday with a headline that came out. So dumb.
Which is sad because I think isn't that the same guy who was talking about Henry Cavill on The Witcher and how they
he was same guy. Bo DeMeo. Then he came out and said, well, we're going to see X-Men 97 through the lens of, I'm paraphrasing, of a gay black man.
Of course.
Okay.
How about
that's my favorite lens? How
about a human lens? Try the human lens. That's why
Bo DeMeo. That's who it was.
It's like this is a meme at this point. Like this whole idea of like, as a transgender quadriplegic dwarf, this is how I see the world. And it's just it always has to be framed from this certain dimension, like this really specific, everyone has to be slotted into specific categories. And like you say, why can't it just be like, well, as a human, like this is the world as I see it, and like we're gonna tell like universal stories that everyone can kind of understand. This is
be nice.
why, right? I gave Shazam 2 a tiny bit of credit because it was like,
Boo.
yeah, I know. But it was an inoffensive movie. It was much
Better
like
than
Black
Ant-Man.
Adam. Yeah, they weren't
Better than
trying to
Ant-Man, yeah.
push some shitty socio-political messaging on us. They weren't trying to indoctrinate anyone. They weren't trying to make you feel guilty for existing. It was just a generic superhero movie. Its biggest crime was this: it was kind of dull and forgettable. That was pretty much it. And yeah, I'm sure Molly, you can point out that it was kind of dumb at the same time. But yeah, that was the worst thing about it. Is it just wasn't very memorable. But the spirit of it, I guess, or the intent behind it, felt like it was kind of good, if that makes any kind of sense. Like, I didn't feel like it was trying to do anything nefarious.
Well,
Like most of
you
the
can say that
Marvel
about the
stuff
first
does.
one as well, right? Like David F. Sandberg,
Yeah.
as much as he and Zachary Levi are whining on Twitter constantly, I think the movie they made was pretty chill. It's like that was the goal anyway. Like I think it's really poorly written, but yeah, it's just like, look, heroes doing hero things, villains doing villain
Yep.
things.
It
Yeah,
didn't
like
go out of the
you're-
way to make one of the heroes fat or soy or like it didn't do any of that.
Yeah. And
Make
it
a bunch of
actually had
Mandalorians fight a crocodile badly or something.
Oh,
it actually had
Well, pterodactyl.
it actually had attractive women in it as well, which is a fucking like it's
Everybody
like
was
unicorn
commenting
shit.
on that.
yeah.
It's like, wow, they had attractive actresses that looked like actual women and they put them in tight-fitting costumes. Like, who knew such a crazy idea could still happen in this
I
day
know,
and age?
right?
Okay, I'm not judging you, but hey, if you're that into Helen Mirren, all right, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, wow, yeah, no. I couldn't believe how fucking old she is. She's like almost 80 now. I think
Yeah.
she's 78 now. Like, damn.
What did
She's
you think about her
awesome, man.
performance of that movie?
I think she was given about 20% of her acting potential.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Didn't she say in an interview she had no idea what the fuck she was doing?
Yeah, that's
you
how
could
it comes
totally
across.
Tom, like after seeing her in 1923, because I just watched
She's
it, like,
awesome.
she's great in that. And then you see that, and you're like, oh, shoo.
I mean,
Well,
just
I'll-
imagine going to your gran or something and being like, "Yeah, so I want you to be this superhero character in a big suit of armor and
Listen,
fighting
okay.
people and stuff."
Nan, you're
Super
playing.
villain. I have
you're
trouble
playing-
going to the bathroom.
Look, I'll tell you this much about her. I don't know if you guys saw our Blood In, Blood Out reunion show we did on Midnight's Edge, but like, I will always give Helen Mirren a pass because we're sitting here doing the interview, and her husband happens to be the director of that film, and he was on the thing, and he's just sitting there. All of a sudden, this head keeps popping in behind him. And we're like, what the hell is that? And then finally she comes on screen and she goes, "Hi, boys. I just wanted to say hello and see what you guys were doing and talking about. It's just so interesting." And she was just so bubbly. And it's like, how is this woman like in her 80s or what? It's like, no way. She was just like, just so much fun and energetic. And she was great. So I always give her a pass
She's
for that.
the next caliber, dude. Come on. She's next
She seems, she seems pretty chill. I'll give her that.
She
Absolutely,
seems
but
awesome.
when you tell her that you're going to be playing a god who is the daughter of Atlas, a Titan, and you're going to be coming for revenge because the powers were taken and given to Shazam, a bunch of children, she's going to be like, "I'm sorry, what the fuck are you on?"
Yeah. I think our next question would be like, so how big is my paycheck for
Yeah.
this one?
Dude, that's definitely what Lucy Liu said. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, but she's great.
Well, it was again very much like Black Adam, where you had guys like Pierce Brosnan in it, and like great actor, just didn't really get given a huge amount to do. You know,
He should have
just
been the
kind of
main
wasted in
character.
the role.
Drop everyone else. Fuck it.
Yeah.